Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now the very end of April of 2023, and with a handful of Star Wars projects on the horizon that will be announced by this year's D23 event by Bob Iger, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and others out there, that's really going to fulfill the roadmap even further. We have a lot of things that Jon and Dave have been discussing with the fans for the past couple of days now. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So there's been a lot of things happening between, of course, Bob Iger and the Disney executives and the current Disney shakeup that has been happening for the past 6 or so months now. That's really been going in many different paths to really kind of get a concrete idea of where Marvel's going and where Star Wars is heading as well. Now that brings us to what Bob Iger recently had to say about the cancellation of a handful of Star Wars movies in order to sacrifice to really kind of give something very much passionately driven by Jon and Dave Filoni and other creatives coming on board of everything related to the Star Wars franchise. So let's get right into all of this and exactly what it really means. So one thing about Bob Iger that we do know is that he is trying to leave behind a legacy, a footprint if you will, and really trying to give the fans something to look forward to, something that a lot of fans will remember him by, regardless of the fact that board members want Bob Iger out by 2024, and Bob Iger also wants to step down by next year as well. But it's all about a race, right? It's all about when he wants to establish his legacy before the board decides to get rid of him. So, with that being put out there and said, with Lucasfilm recently making some drastic changes to the Star Wars lore, both Jon and Dave have been responding to many fan questions lately. However, recently Disney CEO Bob Iger finally came out and informed fans on the most recent decision to cancel a full slate of Star Wars shows and movies, and why Bob Iger went on to state the following. We here at Disney have been examining the current state of Star Wars for well over 6 months now, and we felt it was the right time to right-size our slate of projects that are in varying stages of development right now. We have made a very tough choice to remove multiple feature films from the roadmap to make way for the movies that will be created by those like Steven Knight, James Mangold, Dave Filoni, and others that we are proud to announce later this year. To us, it's all about turning Star Wars back into becoming an event, and we feel that we lost that by strictly focusing on the series of our streaming service, which is why we are bringing back opening crawls to every single Star Wars movie. Now let me just, point out one thing here about what Bob Iger is saying, is that they want to get back to making Star Wars feel like an event, and I totally get that. I absolutely get that 100%, because as much as I love the shows, or the passion by Jon and Dave on focusing on shows because you can really develop a character greatly with that, a lot of character development can be shown in a multi-season series, but we gotta also remember that a lot of fans out there love movies too, something that's very much, short, 2 hours and 45 minutes max, and you don't have to, go episode by episode for weeks on end. You can just watch something in one sitting, enjoy a story, and then exit the theater. And there's nothing better than that, in my opinion, to go out, to sit in the theater with other Star Wars fans and experience it all together on a big screen with a great sound and just enjoying it. There's something about movies too that are also even all the more enjoyable, is that they have a very fun build-up, they have a higher budget and stuff around those lines. So, yeah, I agree that the movies feel more like an event than the shows do. I feel like the excitement is more there. I myself am very passionate about the Dave Filoni movie and the James Mangold movie called Dawn of the Jedi, or that's basically the era that's going to be placed in. The Rey-centered film, I'm very skeptical about. I will be honest with you guys, and I talked about this multiple times that, hey, you know what? It has an opportunity to do better if they want to do that. It's all about execution at the end of the day. I know a lot of fans do not like the character of Rey, but Steven Knight could very well reinvent the character just as much as Jon and Dave plan to in their post-Episode 9 series. We've discussed that before in the past as well. So, on to the next. Alright, now Bob Iger goes on to elaborate things further to the fans by stating the following. So, by right-sizing our films and removing unannounced projects from the table to create room for the films we unveiled at Celebration, we are proud to say that this gives us the opportunity to focus on quality rather than quantity. The original goal for us was for 2 Star Wars films a year. That's a lot, by the way. But we are now aiming toward our original strategy of going back to 1 film a year, eventually, and it all begins in 2025. We felt that this was a necessary decision to create quality-driven films, and we are ready to make changes if we feel we are overperforming with the movies. Leaving the possibility open to having 2 film releases a year is on the table still if we overreach our goals. I am also proud to say that we will be revealing the direction of our other movies during the 4th quarter of this year to add to the slate, and how it will give us a concrete path of release dates and a proper way to organize things. Now, what Bob Iger is saying here that I think is very reassuring is that they are open, and I say open, to bringing in 2 movies a year, max, if they meet their goals, or if they go over their goals, if they are overperforming, essentially, is what he's saying. Now, originally they had a plan of putting out 2 movies a year. They're now dialing that down to 1 movie a year, which is why they canceled a lot of the other films that were in limbo. We talked about this just the other day, about how a lot of Kathleen Kennedy greenlit movies have been canceled, a lot of which were spin-offs and stuff around those lines related to the High Republic as well, stuff like that, in order to clear the way for the Rey movie, Dawn of the Jedi, the Dave Filoni movie, and the Old Republic movies. And this is interesting because they're open to doing 2 whole movies a year if those films do very, very well, alright? Now, obviously, if they don't do that well, they'll stick to either 1 film a year and just keep that their strategy as, need be. Now, this is really interesting because the fact that it's all going to start in 2025, we know the first film for the slate is this post-Episode 9 movie that's going to feature Rey. We've heard numerous times that Rey is not the main lead. She's not the main character, in a sense. It's going to focus on multiple characters. Think of it like an ensemble cast where Rey is in the mix. So it's not necessarily a Rey movie, quote-unquote, but it's a new Jedi Order movie featuring Rey in the mix. That's basically the aim that they are going for right now. So it's interesting, because she's part of the main leads, but not the main lead, just to be sure about that, guys. So, anyways, I think that Bob Iger is on the right path here, I really do. Even though I do disagree with the fact that they should have started things off with the Rey movie, I don't buy that. I think that they should have switched things around. Maybe James Mangold's movie should have been first in 2025, or the Dave Filoni movie. But there's a reasoning behind that, is that James Mangold is tied up with a lot of other films, and Dave Filoni is waiting to build up things with the shows before he puts out his movie. So that makes sense too, why they would want the Rey film first. So overall, it's interesting to say the least that they had to sacrifice other films to make way for these ones. I would like to hear your input on this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to morning.